right, y'all, here we go. This is a great chapter, The Ego. A good quote here, Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now, great book. We've talked about it. Here's the quote. Nothing out there will ever satisfy you except temporarily and superficially. Things and conditions can give you pleasure, but they will also give you pain. And I love that quote. It's a great one. And so this chapter talks about something that I had never heard of before until I read about it. The narrator versus the watcher. And what this chapter talks about, the narrator, is our ego. Everybody has an ego. You can also I like to call the ego the talker, the self-dialogue, the dialogue that goes on in our mind all the time. And a lot of people, including myself, up until recently, associated this self-dialogue, this ego, this narrator as, this is me. This is who we are. Turns out, it is not. The ego, the narrator, just talks to us incessantly, and we have a choice of whether or not we live by it, in which I can tell you 90% of the time I do not. I know that whatever my mind and thoughts or dialogue is saying, it just wants to be heard, and it wants to be right, and it can switch sides and switch subjects and just be all over the place. And unfortunately, we probably all know a lot of people, I used to be one of them, that lived through that ego narrator voice. And so all the thoughts, feelings, and emotions that we've discussed in previous chapters, this is fodder for the narrator. All the things that we watch, TV, social media, the people we're around, is influenced by this, gets influenced by this voice. It takes the clues and says, okay, this is the type of people around, and so it gets information and context from those people. The ego or the narrator has to narrate life as it sees it. I'm referring to it as it because it's not me. And I didn't know this for a really long time. The ego doesn't care what it's talking about. It doesn't matter. It doesn't care if it's right or wrong, if it makes sense or not, just wants to be heard. And so many people think of themselves as who they are, the essence of who they are. They believe that to be their narrator. That must be me. And so what I discovered through researching and reading about this is that you'll come across people, you've probably come across people in your past that repeatedly make the same critically terrible mistakes over and over. And you're like, why do they keep doing this? Why? Well, that's why. Generally, that's a good guess. They're living out and making decisions from that narrating voice, that self-dialogue that's getting influenced by the people they're around, by the TV, social media that they are constantly putting in their eyes and ears. And they repeat the same grotesque, terrible, bad, unhealthy, negative mistakes over and over and over. That's why. They have not learned yet that voice that's just constantly talking to them. It happens to me the most when I'm driving alone. That's when I know, like when I get in my vehicle and start driving, it's fixing to roll. And so I have to be aware of that. I have to be conscious and present of the fact that that's going to potentially happen, and I got to be in control. So one of the biggest things that separate humans from animals is our ability to have self-awareness. Humans have the ability to, they have the brain capacity to consciously separate apart parts of their being and recognize what is going on around them. Most animals look into a mirror and they don't realize they're looking at themselves. They react in a way that's aggressive, but humans can look into a mirror and go, oh, that's me. I have an awareness to know. So in his book, The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer, we've done a couple of quotes from him. He says in one of his chapters, quote, "We can sit back in the seat of consciousness or being present and observe all these things happening around us in the exterior world and what's happening internally in our ego, and watching it all without ever attaching to it. And when I read that, I had to put the book down and just contemplate that. Like, there's all these things going on in our exterior world, the people we're around, the input we're putting into our life through TV and social media. We've got this own narrating self-dialogue going on that's just all over the place. And yet the real us can separate and look at all those things going on around us, be aware of that voice, and know that's not me. That is not me. I'm the me that can instead watch these things. I know and aware that I don't have to attach to the exterior world, the people, the television, politics, all that. And what's also going on in my own head, that's not me. I can separate and know that I don't have to attach to that. The real me is the watcher. I'm the watcher. I can watch all these things happen. That's part of our mindfulness. This is like a deeper level into awareness and mindfulness. In some books, it even calls it the observer. You can sit back in your mind and observe all these things happening around you and in your own head, and know I don't have to give into that. I don't have to let that dictate my level of joy and peace in my life. So that is a huge asset to have, to know that no matter what's going on around you, no matter what's going on within you, you can sit down and start writing a gratitude list. You can start journaling. You can call a trusted friend and start talking in, like James, the book of James, and confessing, or just talking at that. That's why I believe therapy is so beneficial to us, is because just the action of talking about it out loud, we can generally work out a lot of things just by verbalizing them, because most of the time we suppress them. And I think the more we suppress and hold those things in, the more toxicity they cause in our minds, which translates into our thoughts and our feelings and our emotions. So overall, being careful of that, having people we can talk to, being able to write things down, it's so helpful. So I would encourage you to try it. There's some great questions there at the end, and hopefully you got some thoughts. I'd love to hear from you. So go through that. Let me know what you think about it. Thank you.